Wardak Province is a rural tribal region located in central Afghanistan. Since 1995, it has become a much fought-over area due to its close proximity to Kabul as well as its various trade routes into neighboring Pakistan. In 2009, the area was labeled under de facto Taliban control, and in November of that year, the 173rd Airborne Infantry was sent into the area to push the enemy force out. Our guest today served with the 173rd Infantry during that deployment and is here to share some of his experiences. The Humanities Communications Department at Norwalk Community College presents The New Directors, the show that introduces you to television's future writers, directors, and personalities. And now join our host, Genesis Fernandez.
All right, thank you for joining us for today's edition of The New Directors. All of the people involved in this program are students in the television production course and are directing, switching, controlling audio, operating cameras, and acting as talent for the first time today. The guests you are about to meet are students who, when not on camera, are behind the scenes working hard to bring this program to you with as few mistakes as possible. Each student will write and direct 4 different productions. It will give them the chance to talk about themselves, the productions they are planning, the chance for you to get to know them and watch their progress throughout the semester. Our guest today is a student who served 4 years as a U.S. paratrooper with the 173rd Airborne Infantry. He is here today to talk about his deployment to Wardak Province, Afghanistan from 2009 to 2010. Please welcome Jeff Edelstein.
How's it going?
Thank you. So, we know that you were in the 173rd. What experience stood out the most?
Well, you know, it was such a life-altering, surreal experience for me. There was so many things that happened. I'd have to say the thing that stood out the most first was just the utter culture shock that went along with it. When I first got there, it's like we had landed on another planet, and nobody there shares any of the same outlooks as any Americans and I ever met. There was just a completely different culture like I had never experienced before. And trying to communicate with them and the Afghan army and the local villagers was a big chore, and that was definitely something we had to overcome and figure out a way to do. But once we did, and we started getting to know them better, and they started getting to know us, and knew that we were there to help them, then everything started falling into place, and we kind of got along like here we're playing volleyball with them, which they love. They love volleyball for some reason. They just came over from America to there. And I'd say, you know, the thing that I'm proud of the most, though, would have to be our company's presence was able to give protection to a neighboring town, and that allowed them to institute a girls' school, is where you saw them playing volleyball before. It was a girls' school that was set up near our base, and that was the first time that those girls were able to get an education, just due because the Taliban would never allow something like that before.
That's awesome, girl power. Could you tell us why you decided to take the TV production course?
Yeah, you know, I was a movie fanatic since I was a little kid. I remember watching Nightmare Before Christmas when I was probably around 8 years old, and I ultimately became fascinated with how people designed a full-length feature film like that, and the story-making process that took behind it. So I took this course to start developing some of those skills and hopefully could make a career out of it myself. And doing assignments like the Orange Project, which we'll see later, is definitely cemented my resolve towards kind of creating my own projects.
All right, cool. What are some of the most useful things you have learned in the TV production course?
There's definitely a few things I learned that stood out. The rule of thirds allowed me to know where to force the viewer's eye where I wanted it to go, to not get distracted and get my point across. And learning editing on Avid was definitely a treat. I mean, that way I can just do my own thing when I want to, and be able to manipulate videos and edit them together and how I like, which is definitely something I'll be keeping with me for later on.
Awesome. Tell us about the productions you created for the TV1 class, the Learning Project, Action Sequence, New England Fall, and your Orange Project.
Okay. Well, in the learning sequence, I was first able to work with tools that I'd be using for the rest of the semester, such as clean entrances and exits, getting to know how to position the 180 line in the right spot, so I'd be able to get all the shots that I needed without confusing continuity. That part was tricky, but then I was able to see why it was such a vital part of filmmaking, and to keep the viewer's head in the story and not mess with it, which is easy to do, apparently.
All right.
And this is the fall foliage project, and that was a great change of pace that I liked, and it allowed me to kind of get my own shots that I wanted. and work with different camera techniques such as shift focus and continuous zooms. And I tried to utilize those the best I could, but with so many things to choose from in the woods, and also learning how to add music on Avid was definitely something that will come in handy later. So, definitely these Poor Man Dissolves. And this is the learning sequence. No, I'm sorry, that was definitely not the way. So the student take notes project definitely threw me a few curveballs though. It was requiring me to go, for the first time, I had to go back and reshoot some scenes when I realized they didn't work on the editing room floor, and use extreme close-ups to portray the story, action in the story a certain way. And I wasn't used to it yet, but it all ended me, I had to kind of force myself to put it all together. And, in the end, it turned out all right. Definitely a learning experience. I loved the Orange Project. That was my favorite. I was able to create my own story in this one and put up storyboards, shoot with minimal restrictions. That was definitely a treat. And, I was able to do things like Poor Man's Dissolve, and I had a great shift focus I learned. I was basically able to utilize everything I'd learned on the earlier projects and put them all together with a story that I wanted to shoot. And that would definitely cemented my resolve in continuing on with filmmaking in the future. It was a lot of fun to do.
Awesome. Now I know that you had one project that you felt was your best. Tell us about it while we watch a sample of the video with the music you selected.
Okay. Well, I'd say my favorite project, it's definitely the best shot project, was the Fall Foliage project, because I got to spend out a lot of time in the woods shooting that. It was a hard choice between this and the orange one, but in the end, I was more proud of the final product of this one. It was difficult, the amount of choices I had to make, as well as it's taking forever to get a good shift focus when I was out there. But altogether, I was definitely happy with the product. And I love the continuous zooms, kind of put action where there was no action, make kind of trees seem like they had some drama to them. Yeah, exactly. And then once again, adding music to certain shots where I thought it was appropriate was definitely an editing choice I had to learn how to make. So, and also shooting all these lines, trying to find all the different lines that we were assigned to make. It was definitely a nice scavenger hunt of a project.
Oh, those diagonal lines.
Yeah, exactly, and a frame too. It's
awesome.
a twofer.
You mentioned the variety of things you've learned in this course. So what was the most interesting and important skill you've learned, and how will you put it to good use?
Well, if I had to just pick one thing, it would probably be editing on Avid. I can see using that for a long time, no matter what aspect of filmmaking I decide to get into. It's always nice to be able to go and cut your own shots, or put something together and learn how to make things flow smoothly, cutting on action, and learning and then taking that to when you're shooting the videos before. And then you get to see what you need to shoot by how good you are at editing and what you need to have later. It sounds kind of convoluted, but yeah, it's great. I really think I would definitely take that with me.
All right, awesome. So today we got to meet someone who shared with us what it's like to be a paratrooper in Warrenton, Afghanistan, and he hopes to use his filmmaking towards a new career in the future. Thank you, Jeff, for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We hope you enjoyed meeting some of television's future directors, and we hope you will continue to watch each week as we continue our progress. Thank you and good day. Thank you for being on here.
This has been The New Directors with your host, Genesis Fernandez, directed by Kat Frail. I'm your announcer, Adrian Brock. The New Directors is a Norwalk Community College student production.